This is my story of the effects regarding addiction and loss in my life. I want to be very careful about how I portray this story and these experiences. And I also want to preface, this inherently is not about me. And I'm not trying to say this in any certain way to be portrayed in that of any regards of sympathy. The reason I'm saying that is because I want to preface that my journey was not of me being an addict regarding illegal substances, drugs, but people very close to me. And I developed the role of a victim, of a people pleaser, of a codependent, of a tough dynamic. I also want to preface that my experience is subjective to me, and in no way am I claiming to have any severity of experiences worse or less than anybody, because it's subjective to me. This is truly my experience and the lessons I've learned throughout my experience of my loved ones either having been through addiction or currently being addicts. And I'm also being vague in the way that I say it because it's not my story to tell regarding the people in my lives who have had those experiences. So that's not for me to say and talk about. And I'm not going to be specific with who or when or why, because it's not my story. And regarding the loss, which was very recent, it wasn't directly my loss, but I shouldn't say that, because it was somebody that was very near and dear to me. And the reason I'm saying this is because this is a hard thing. I almost feel weird saying these things. But for me, it was being a victim, being a people pleaser, being a codependent, and solving the problems of everybody around me, and dealing with toxic environments. And I want to say this to relate to anybody who has been through similar things, because trust me, man or woman, I know exactly what you're going through. And my story is that of recognizing that it was my greatest asset. And surely when you're not in the midst of these effects and you're in a state of being able to reflect and heal, surely that is when the insights, realization, and the strength comes. But if you're in the midst of it deeply, I want to say I have so much compassion for you, and there is a way out, and you are free. You are not a victim, and you are able to make any decision that you see fit within the age range and decision matrix and availability you have. But surely doing your best to distance and not explain and heal on your own and fill your own cup so you can serve them to the best of your ability. But this is one of the hardest journeys that I am still facing, and that I'm still shedding chains from, and that guarded me purposefully in the past, but created so many fear-based chains in my life. And I guess this is my story of in the process of letting go of those chains and letting go of some of them, and realizing that I was never a victim. It was actually my greatest asset, and the strength I gained through those adversity led me here, maybe making a difference in somebody's life. And it's such a hard subject too. And I don't know what the title is going to be. Like, I was going to put my story with the effects of addiction and loss. Because it is my story, and I don't need to be shameful of sharing my story, because it did affect me, and I did learn things. And although it wasn't me directly being the addict, that healing the inner child has been my journey, and it is still is my journey. But I just want to bring light to anybody going through a similar experience and maybe taking on the role of a fatherly or motherly role at a young age for people they love. That was part of my experience as well. And you grow up quick, because you don't have the luxury of just hanging out and sitting with your friends and talking about what car you're going to get for your 16th birthday. But I also will say, maybe the tone of my voice is like making it in a sorrowful way. But I also will say, like I said, it truly has been my greatest asset and the biggest gift to me to be able to share my perspective and heal and create the life that I want. And also, I also want to say too, like, my family is of the utmost importance to me, and I have no ill will regarding any people maybe who had created those chains or still struggling with things. Regardless of any of that, I know for a fact that I have been spoiled. I have had an amazing life. I have an amazing family, and as do you. The people that may be going through these things or caused those things were going through their own severity of trauma that they were trying to heal, and maybe they just couldn't cope with. So having compassion and love for that, I mean, that's been the biggest part of my journey. But for me to be able to cultivate that, I did have to make physical changes in my life. Well, whether having boundaries, learning new ways to cope, talk, communicate, view the situation, have my own independence. Surely it is a lot harder if you're going through it. And I'm talking to that kid who is going fucking through it. Everything is traumatic. Maybe you're going through a really hard dynamic. It is your fucking greatest asset. I promise you that. I promise you. You do not need to believe you're less than. You do not need to believe the lies that you're being told or that you're telling yourself. And the only way that you change and create lasting change is changing with love. And I really want to preface that in the sense where me creating changes and sharing my point of view and healing with these wounds, when you're coming at it from fuck you, I hate you, fighting, you're now part of the problem. And it's the hardest thing to do, to not blame other people, not be a victim, and take accountability and take the most noble and loving action by acting with love and giving them the space to heal. It's like this whole thing. I hear a lot of people talk about this. I certainly went through this. Like, you're telling your mom, your dad, oh, this is how you do it to be better. This is why you should eat healthy and stuff like that. What you're doing when you're acting like that is you're inherently telling them that you do not trust them. And what that does is puts another layer of lack and lack of self-confidence in them. So you're actually not helping them by trying to explain and by solving all of their problems. And surely, if you're in a dynamic where you're a young kid and you might not have decision-making authority, well, do your best to keep the peace and talk to safe individuals and start healing on your own and start figuring out a plan of how you can detach with love and how you can heal. Because I want you to know, too, that if you create changes with resistance and fear and hate, you're going to create more fire. And I want you to know that most likely, and I can't tell you your dynamic, but most likely the dynamic you're in is that the people maybe, or the dynamic that you have, these people do love you. And they love you so much. And maybe they just don't know how to love, and maybe they're going through their own thing. So if you can be the light and the love, and that's just what I want to say. And that's the bottom line. And regarding my journey and wanting change from this trauma and wanting to create this beautiful life, what happens is I started to resist where I was, and I wanted change. And I wanted change so bad, and I didn't like my dynamic. And maybe you're facing that. And the reason I bring up the loss aspect of this is I don't even really feel comfortable talking about this because it's such a sacred aspect of life. And I just want you to know that no matter who caused this pain, this trauma, I apologize for my phone, no matter who caused it, they do love you deep down, and they do love you. Maybe you're just not seeing the love as well. Maybe you're just masked by this fear and victimhood. But regardless, people can be gone at a moment's notice, and you'll never see them again. And that's when shit gets really put into perspective. Because all this self-absorbed victimhood, this, blah, 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 explaining, I want this, I'm a victim, like, fighting, none of it fucking matters. Because it can be gone in an instant. And you don't know pain until you can't see that person anymore. And you can't, if you've never experienced that in a very close dynamic, then you're coming from a skewed perspective and maybe a more selfish and childish perspective. And I'm just giving you that perspective. And surely maybe people are watching this, oh my God, I know people have been through so much worse, and I have so much compassion for you. I love you so much. And no matter what your situation is, there is a light, and you can find strength within the adversity. And I don't know, I even feel weird using this video as a platform for this, but I just want to pay my respects to the person in regards to who I'm talking about. And I love you so much, brother. And it's been one of the most painful things that I've faced. But the lesson I learned from this person is there's no need to be fearful of your fate. He was a warrior. He was not fearful whatsoever. He was given a subset of adversity, and he faced it with grace and love, and he never made anybody around him slighted. And yeah, you'll always be in my heart till the day I'm gone. And we love you. But to anybody watching this, like, it's bigger than you. That's what I'm trying to say. Right now, you're fearful, and rightfully so. You've been through a lot, and you might be a victim. You might have this victimhood mentality. You might be blaming other people. Rightfully so. Your feelings are valid. Whatever feeling you have is valid. That's what I want to tell you. Whatever feeling you have is valid. Not what I'm telling you is right or wrong. Whatever you have is valid. And just knowing that you are valid, your feelings are valid, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and using the adversity you have to create strength and change in your life and for the people around you. Regardless, fam, much love. I know this was more of a dimmer video, but I didn't want to come with a sense of enthusiasm towards this, and I wanted to be very careful about how I talk about these things. But that's my story regarding that in a very vague and summarized way, because I don't want to shed light on other people's aspect, because that's what I see a lot. I see a lot of influencers, people talking online. It's like, oh, I went through this and that, and then this was my story. And it's like, that's not your story to tell. Like, surely you, and maybe it is, you went through that and I went through this, but don't gaslight the people around you and the people that you love, because when you really zoom out, it might be a hard dynamic, but you know, who's the one supporting you? Who are you dependent on? You know, if it plays into the role of that, then that's a different story. And I just want you to be very specific. If it's a physically harmful environment, then surely maybe that's a little different. I did not experience anything regarding that. But, you know, take the toxic environment with a grain of salt is all I'm saying. And that's it. It's a hard topic. Yeah, let me know if you want me to share more insights on that. But it was weird for me, so we're trying to dust the cobwebs off on that and talk about it in the right way. But regardless, I appreciate you listening. Much love, fam. Peace.